You know that feeling when you walk into a room and the conversation just dies? It's a special kind of silence. It's not peaceful, it's heavy, like a wet blanket smothering all the warmth. I became an expert in that silence. My name is Chloe, and for 5 years, that silence was the soundtrack of my marriage. The scene was my father-in-law's 60th birthday party. The Mitchell family home was decked out in blue and silver, filled with the scent of roasting meat and fresh bread. My husband, Liam, was at the grill with his brothers, their laughter echoing across the sprawling backyard. Our 4-year-old daughter, Lily, was chasing fireflies with her cousins. It was a picture-perfect family moment, the kind I'd dreamed of when I fell in love with Liam. I was carrying a tray of my famous lemon rosemary cupcakes, my contribution to the feast, a recipe from my own mother that I was proud of. As I approached the main table, my mother-in-law, Eleanor, glided over. She was, as always, impeccably dressed, her silver blonde hair in a perfect chignon, her smile a little too sharp to be truly warm. "Oh, Chloe, dear, those look interesting," she said, her voice a sugary syrup that didn't quite hide the poison beneath. She patted my arm. "Don't worry, I made a backup dessert. A proper chocolate fudge cake. One can never be too sure with experimental bakers." The small cluster of aunts and cousins around her tittered politely. My smile felt brittle. This was our dynamic. 1,000 tiny paper cuts, always delivered with a smile. Then Liam's sister, Sarah, called out, "Mom, come settle a debate. We're arguing about your legendary lasagna recipe. You have to tell us the secret ingredient." Eleanor beamed, a genuine, proud smile. "The secret, my darlings," she announced, her voice carrying across the patio, "is love. And knowing your family's tastes so well that you'd never dream of putting in anything unconventional." Her eyes flickered towards my cupcakes. It was the final, tiny cut that broke the skin. But before I could even form a response, my daughter, Lily, ran up, her little face smeared with chocolate. She tugged on Eleanor's pristine linen trousers. "Grandma! Grandma! Look what I made." She held up a wobbly drawing of stick figures. "That's you, and that's me, and that's Mommy." Eleanor's smile tightened. She took the drawing with 2 fingers, as if it were something dirty. "How creative, Lily. But darling, you've got chocolate all over you. A lady must always be presentable." She looked directly at me, her gaze cold. "Perhaps your mother should pay more attention to you and less to her hobbies." The silence returned. Liam, from the grill, had heard. He didn't come to my defense. He just looked down, flipping a burger, a familiar, helpless look on his face. The aunts looked away, embarrassed for me. In that moment, surrounded by family, I had never felt more alone. But something inside me, something that had been bending for 5 years, finally stopped. It didn't break. It solidified into something hard and unyielding. The tears that usually threatened my eyes didn't come. Instead, a profound, icy calm settled over me. I looked at Eleanor, at her triumphant little smile. And I smiled back. It wasn't my usual strained, "please accept me" smile. It was a small, quiet, knowing smile. "You're absolutely right, Eleanor," I said, my voice clear and steady, surprising everyone, including myself. "A mother's attention is the most important thing of all." I picked up a cupcake, took a deliberate, graceful bite, and walked away to find my daughter. The war had been declared years ago. I had just decided, in that moment, that I was finally going to fight back. And I was going to win. The betrayal wasn't a single act. It was a tapestry of lies, woven so intricately into the fabric of the Mitchell family that they couldn't see the threads anymore. I was the outsider, the girl from the wrong side of the tracks, who had snared their golden boy, Liam. Eleanor had never approved. For years, I thought it was me. That I wasn't good enough, polished enough, Mitchell enough. I tried so hard. I learned their recipes, attended their tedious garden parties, bit my tongue at every backhanded compliment. The truth began to unravel on a Tuesday. Liam was at work, and Lily was at preschool. I was cleaning out the guest room closet, a task I'd been avoiding for years. In the very back, behind a stack of old blankets, I found a box. It wasn't mine. It was Liam's, from before we were married. A memory box. My heart ached with a sudden tenderness. I thought I might find old love letters he'd written to me, maybe photos from our early days. I opened it. On top was a photo of Liam with a beautiful, blonde woman. They were at a vineyard, laughing. It was his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra. Eleanor's favorite. Beneath it was a stack of letters, tied with a ribbon. Not love letters from him. Letters to him. In Eleanor's elegant, looping handwriting. My hands trembled as I untied the ribbon. I sat on the floor of the closet, dust motes dancing in the sunlight, and I read. And with each word, my world crumbled. Liam, my dearest boy, I'm so worried about you. Chloe is so fragile. I heard from Sarah's friend who works at the clinic. Well, let's just say she has a history of instability. Are you sure you can build a future on such shaky ground? Son, a little birdie told me she was seen having a very cozy lunch with her ex-boyfriend last week. I know you trust her, but a mother's intuition is never wrong. She doesn't have the moral character our family is built on. Darling, I know you think you love her, but think of your future. Cassandra asks about you all the time. She comes from such a good family. She would never embarrass you the way Chloe did at the charity auction last night. People were talking. Page after page. 5 years of systematic, calculated poison. She had invented a mental health crisis. She had fabricated an affair. She had twisted every innocent interaction, every minor social misstep, into proof of my fundamental unworthiness. The accomplice was the entire family. She had used Sarah, her daughter, as her little birdie, feeding her lies and gossip. She had turned the aunts and cousins against me with whispered concerns and manufactured evidence. They had all been her unwitting soldiers in a silent war against me. The trust she exploited wasn't just Liam's trust in me. It was his trust in her. She was his mother. The one person who was supposed to want his happiness above all else. And she had used that sacred bond to slowly, methodically, isolate him from the woman he loved. That I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I carefully, meticulously, placed every letter back in the box, exactly as I found it. I put the box back in the closet. And then I went to the bathroom and was violently sick. When the nausea passed, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back was different. The doubt, the constant anxiety, was gone. It had been replaced by a cold, clear fury. My intelligence, my patience, my attention to detail, the very things Eleanor thought made me a meek pushover, were now my greatest assets. I became a ghost in my own life. I was the perfect, quiet wife and daughter-in-law, but underneath, I was a detective, a historian, an archivist of my own persecution. I started with the lies. The cozy lunch with her ex-boyfriend? I accessed an old, forgotten cloud storage account and found time-stamped photos from that exact day. I was 50 miles away, at a baby shower for my college roommate. Dozens of witnesses. The history of instability and the clinic? I wrote a formal, polite email to my former therapist. I'd seen her for perfectly normal grief counseling after my father died, and requested a letter confirming the nature and dates of our sessions. She provided a notarized document, stating I had been discharged with a clean bill of mental health. I dug deeper. I reached out to Cassandra, the perfect ex-girlfriend. It was a risk, but my intuition told me she wasn't the villain in this story. We met for coffee. She was hesitant at first, then sympathetic. Eleanor never stopped, Cassandra confessed, stirring her latte. Even after Liam and I broke up, she'd call me, telling me to be patient, that you two wouldn't last. She said you trapped him by getting pregnant. The final piece. Lily. She had even tried to poison the story of our own daughter's conception. I compiled it all. Scanned letters, saved emails, the therapist's document, my signed statement from my roommate, a recorded phone call, legal in our state, with a tearful aunt who finally admitted Eleanor had pressured her to corroborate the affair story. I created a digital dossier. A timeline of lies, cross-referenced with the truth. The stakes were everything. My marriage. My daughter's relationship with her father's family. My sanity. My very identity, which had been systematically dismantled. My symbolic gesture was a simple, plain manila envelope. Inside was a single, printed sheet of paper. It read, "The truth. For Liam." And a QR code that led to the encrypted digital dossier. I hid it in my own keepsake box, waiting for the right moment. The envelope was my declaration. Not of war, but of emancipation. The moment came on Mother's Day. We were all at Eleanor's house for brunch. She was holding court, preening over the lavish gifts and adoration. Lily, excited, handed her a homemade card. "I love you, Grandma," she chirped. Eleanor gave her a perfunctory hug. "Thank you, dear. Now run along, the adults are talking." She then turned to Liam. "Liam, darling, could you fetch my present from Cassandra? She sent the most beautiful cashmere scarf. Such a thoughtful girl. Always thinking of me." It was the final, petty cruelty. Using my daughter's moment to praise her chosen, childless ex-girlfriend. I saw the hurt flash. I saw the hurt flash in Lily's eyes before she ran off. I saw Liam's shoulders tense. He'd heard it too. That evening, after we put Lily to bed, Liam was quiet. "She didn't have to dismiss Lily like that," he muttered, staring into his coffee. I didn't respond with anger. I didn't list all the other hurts. I simply went to our bedroom, retrieved the manila envelope, and placed it on the kitchen table in front of him. "I think you need to see this," I said softly. "It's about your mother. And about us." I didn't explain. I didn't plead my case. I just turned and walked upstairs to check on our daughter, leaving him alone with the truth. The power had shifted. The narrative was no longer hers to control. I found him an hour later, sitting in the dark living room, his face illuminated by the glow of his laptop. He had tears streaming down his face. The dossier was open on the screen. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with horror and shame. "Chloe. My God. All of it? For all these years?" I just nodded. Anger. His first reaction was rage. How could she? My own mother. She made me doubt you. She made me question everything. I believed her about the lunch. I almost. God, I'm so sorry. He put his head in his hands. Manipulation. He then tried, instinctively, to find a reason. Maybe she was just worried. She comes from a different generation. She thought she was protecting me. She wasn't protecting you, Liam, I said, my voice quiet but firm. She was controlling you. She was trying to destroy our marriage because I wasn't the puppet she picked for you. She lied about my mental health. She lied about me cheating. She even tried to taint the story of our daughter's birth. Begging. The full weight of it crashed down on him. What do we do? Chloe, please, you can't leave me. I was such a fool. I should have trusted you. I should have defended you. Please, we have to fix this. I looked at my husband, the man I loved, who had been emotionally manipulated for years. I felt a surge of pity for him, but my resolve was steel. "We don't fix this, Liam," I said. "You do. You read every word. You look at every piece of evidence. And then you decide what kind of man, what kind of husband, and what kind of father you are going to be. The choice is yours. But know this, Eleanor will never be alone with our daughter again. And she will never set foot in this house until she admits, in front of everyone, what she has done." I had been steps ahead. I had the evidence, airtight and undeniable. I had the support of witnesses she couldn't intimidate. I had laid out the entire, ugly truth, and there was no path for him but the one I had illuminated. The fallout was nuclear. Liam, armed with the dossier, confronted Eleanor. He played the recorded call with the aunt. He showed her the therapist's letter. He presented the timeline of her lies. She cycled through the same stages he had: denial, anger, and finally, a desperate, weeping attempt to justify herself. "I did it for you. For this family. She wasn't right for you. I was only trying to help." But the dam had broken. Liam then went to his sister, Sarah. Shamefaced, Sarah admitted how their mother had fed her stories and pressured her to spread them. She apologized to me, tears in her eyes. "I didn't know they were lies, Chloe. I thought I was helping my brother." One by one, Liam confronted the family members who had shunned me. He showed them the proof. The aunts, the cousins, they were horrified. The web of lies collapsed, and the spider at the center was exposed. The most emotional moment came later, when Liam and I sat with Lily. He held her little hands and said, "Lily, Grandma said some very mean and untrue things about Mommy. She was very wrong. And Daddy was wrong for not listening to Mommy sooner. We love you and Mommy more than anything in the whole world." I finally explained to Liam why I had stayed silent for so long. "I loved you," I whispered. "And I saw how much you loved your family. I kept hoping if I was perfect enough, kind enough, quiet enough, she would finally see me. And when that didn't work, I was just so tired. I thought if I fought back, I'd lose you." It was only when I saw her starting to hurt Lily that I knew I had to fight, no matter the cost. Eleanor's world, the perfect, pristine kingdom she had ruled with whispers and manipulation, crumbled into dust. The family, reeling from the betrayal, turned against her. The aunts and cousins, disgusted by how they'd been used, stopped taking her calls. The weekly family dinners ceased. Sarah, racked with guilt, began seeing a therapist to untangle her mother's influence and limited her contact. Her reputation as the beloved, wise matriarch was obliterated. She became a cautionary tale, a figure of pity and scorn. The social invitations dried up. She was left alone in her perfectly decorated, silent house, with only the echoes of her own lies for company. The woman who had poisoned everyone against me was now utterly isolated, a direct result of her own toxic actions. We did not cut off the entire Mitchell family. Instead, we rebuilt it on new terms. We started having dinners with Sarah and her husband, with the aunts who had genuinely apologized. The dynamic was different, healthier, more honest. I was no longer on the outside looking in, I was the center of a family that had finally chosen to see me for who I was. Liam and I went to marriage counseling. It was a long, hard road, but we rebuilt the trust that had been eroded. He became my fiercest defender, finally seeing the manipulation he'd been blind to for so long. The poetic justice was absolute. Eleanor's own weapon, the lie, became the instrument of her downfall. The narrative she had so carefully constructed was the very thing that exposed her as the villain. She wasn't defeated by a shouting match or a dramatic scene, but by the quiet, irrefutable power of the truth she had tried so hard to bury. Now, when I walk into a room filled with family, the silence is gone, replaced by the warm, genuine sound of conversation and laughter. I learned that sometimes the strongest revenge isn't anger, it's peace. It's building a happy life despite those who try to destroy it. You can spend years building a prison for someone out of lies, but the moment the truth turns the key, you find you've only been building a cage for yourself. And as for Eleanor? Let's just say the silence in her own home must be deafening. Have you ever dealt with a toxic family member? How did you handle it? Share your stories of setting boundaries in the comments below. And if you resonated with this story of reclaiming your truth, subscribe for more journeys of resilience and healing.